Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day, but Fnatic managing to secure another playoff spot, and it was looking grim for a while, but you guys did it. Caps, as the new mid laner coming in on this legacy team, what does it mean to you to secure that playoff spot?
So I think we took for granted, maybe you can say, or we at least didn't think that much about securing playoffs. We were more like, I mean, Giants and Rocket looked like the bottom team, and we didn't expect them to improve like they did, or like at least Rocket. So it was more the last couple of weeks where we realized, okay, Rocket are actually really good. And then yesterday I was like really hoping for G2 to take the game, so we could just have like a more relaxed day today. But they ended up taking down G2, and we still had to prepare for Misfits.
Yeah, you guys had to take down one more final boss to make your way into playoffs, but you will be there. And Finley, it feels like your transitioning to coach has been a big part of that. Now you've been in for about 3 series, you're adjusting. How does it feel to be as a coach of this org after only so many weeks in making playoffs for them?
Well, I think a lot of the credit needs to really go to the players, because I'm not really a coach. I try my hardest to get them prepared and to get them ready, and I give them suggestions, and I work a lot on draft phase and preparing champions for the whole week. But really, a lot of the performance just comes from the guys. When Nico left, they realized that they really have to step up as players, and we just found our style, and we've just been going with it, and it's been working well.
Found something that's worked for you, and it seemed like you mentioned in your feature a couple weeks ago that the team had really solid players, but weren't like always meshing together. It seems like when it counts, y'all came together. And Caps, did you feel that in that final series?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that we stopped trying maybe to play the perfect game, but we tried to just capitalize on our opponent's mistakes, because in EU right now, maybe the whole world haven't played against the 4 iron teams, but at least in EU, every team makes so many mistakes, even the top teams, which means that if we just capitalize on their mistakes instead of trying to play the game perfect, we will have a lot better results.
Well, it seems a very realistic expectation, and now with the next couple of weeks ahead of you guys, do you feel the expectation from the fans, from the org, from everybody to just go as far as you can in playoffs? How does it feel to still kind of have that on your back?
I feel a lot more comfortable right now than I did a few weeks ago, just because this style fits us a lot more, where it's like more messy, I can say, more like there's more skirmishing, etc. Compared to where we were before, where we tried to just play very slow and very thoughtful, but now we're just like, let's fight.
Caps' mouse was also, I think, a bit dodgy for the whole split until these last 2 games, where he got a new one and then he carried alone. So we got a new Caps coming into quarterfinals, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay, so make sure your peripherals are nice and set. I know what that's all about. Okay, speaking of playoffs, you're going to have H2K up next. How are you feeling about taking that team on?
It's going to be fun to play against Fnatic again. But yeah, I think H2K are definitely a really strong team. But I think our early game is better than theirs. And I think if we can basically fix our mid to late game shot calling, which I think today we did really well, especially in this 3rd game, was really clean. So I mean, if we can play like that, then anything can happen against H2K, and that's what esports is, right? Like Rocket came, they won 6 games in a row. Today we beat Misfits, we nearly beat G2, so I think anything can happen.
Absolutely. At the end of the split, I mean, it's like you said last week, Caps, best story could be Rocket wins, then we have to win out. You guys manage it, and it's very impressive. Now, I know it's been very important for you guys to have a lot of the fan support. You've been very outspoken about it, especially for an organization that is expected to succeed. Do you want to say anything to those fans?
I want to say thanks, especially after the, I'm not sure what it was called, but after the interview with Finlay. A lot of fans have been talking about this topic, and they have been very supportive. And instead of like saying, we are not the top team right now, they're more talking about like, we still believe in you to become the best top team. And I think that has at least for me, it means a lot, because it's not like I'm expected to perform, but instead I have the support to perform.
Yeah, I want to say huge thanks to the fans, because ever since that interview, the fans' support has been crazy huge. And I think it's really actually lifted the players and made a big difference. But I also want to say big shout out to Rocket as well, because they've been playing insanely well the last few weeks, and they deserve a spot in playoffs just as much as us. So unfortunately, we can't both be there. So big shout out to Rocket. They did great. But unfortunately, I mean, fortunately for us, it's going to be us going to playoffs.
And if I can just add on that, I will say that for playoffs, we have. I can promise right now that we're going to continue Rocket's winning streak, and Rocket didn't die for this.
Okay, wow, big words, good feels all around. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Congratulations on your playoff berth, and I can't wait to see how it all goes. For now, though, we got to send it off to Shocks and Crew for the post-game lobby.
Hello everyone and welcome to our last post-game lobby of this spring regular season. Joining me here in the studio are still Verius and Deficio, and the last series of the week was very important. Fnatic taking on Misfits, and in the end, Fnatic besting Misfits and making it to the playoffs. I'm not going to say against all odds, but they had a lot to be up against in this series.
I think they did. Misfits were expected to be a strong team, but I also think that coming into the series today, there were still high expectations for Fnatic to be able to take this series, given that when we look back, they put up a very strong fight against G2. They've been performing relatively well over the last few weeks, and I think that it's not an utter surprise that they have defeated Misfits.
No, I agree that, you know, it was pretty realistic they would win this series, and I think we said that a lot in our predictions and so on, that Fnatic could definitely win this one. It's just funny how in Group A, Rocket and Fnatic kind of start peaking, at the same time Misfits starts slumping.
Yeah.
And that actually meant that towards the end we had these crazy battles for the last playoff spot, but obviously because Rocket and Fnatic took such a long time to really get to this point, not both of them couldn't make it into playoffs, and Misfits are still obviously sitting there in a secure second place.
That they are, but Fnatic, yeah, they came up with a crucial win over Misfits to secure their spot in the playoffs. And yesterday, what made this also exciting is the fact that Rocket did the unthinkable. On Saturday, they took on G2, who had been undefeated in Europe in series for 13 months, it's always a hard word. And they
13 months.
Yes. But Rocket also did it against all odds, which made everything so exciting today.
The Faxi Taxi, the man behind the madness, the guy that was a big part in the success of Rocket. We talked about it earlier on in the day, and I think you can't discredit Rocket. It was unfortunate that they lost so many games early on into the split, which did make their playoff run difficult. I think the team can be pleased with the growth that they were able to make at the very end of the split. And sure, it is disappointing that they won't make it to playoffs, but at the end of the day, you need the wins, right?
It's just so insane that this team for the first many weeks were so bad. Like, they needed a complete clown fiesta against Origin to get a series win, to get confidence, to then obviously start realizing what they were doing was correct. They got a sports psychologist as well, and it just turned everything. Like, I don't understand how you can go from one week to another week from being one of the absolute weakest teams in Europe to suddenly being one of the best performing teams.
It means that it was always there.
It was
just
always
needed
there, but
something
like,
to come out.
it was like from 1 week. You just said, boop, they turned the page and like, yeah, now we're gonna beat everyone.
Momentum.
It was like
momentum,
no, it was an
but it
egg
shouldn't be
in
that
incubation. They just needed the right amount of temperature for the egg to hatch.
And they had a long game against Origin, a long series,
like
a lot of
when
heat.
Exactly, and then eventually they rose from the egg into a beautiful bird that led them all this way.
Or because Origin and Rocket both had some good things and bad things, but when Rocket ate Origin, they absorbed all the good things, and then combined, this is Origin and Rocket combined, they became a good team.
I mean, that's one way of it.
I think
I thought my bird example was better.
as that one, and as realistic as any other reason.
I like
no one can prove me wrong.
Anyway,
no one can prove me
after
wrong.
10 weeks of competition, we have the final standings for the 2017 EU LCS Spring Split Round Robin. As we see there, G2 Esports, Misfits, and Fnatic, and the Unicorns of Love, H2K, and Splice are going into playoffs.
So I think the first thing we can say for certain is that Group B, I think that it was a little bit debatable as to who would make it at the top of the table, but I think that this has met a lot of our expectations. We have at the end of the split, we have 3 very strong teams, and we have Unicorns sitting at the top.
Yes.
That's a surprise to me that Unicorns were that strong, though, and they kept that first place.
I agree. That was a surprise, you know, coming into the split. I would say HK, Splice, and Unicorns were the heavy favorites from get-go to kind of move into playoffs. Order was then what you could debate, and I think we've seen HK and Unicorns fight for that first place all split long, and Unicorns in the end were the better team, which is why they get it. And that's why I think Group B has been super exciting to watch, and Group A needed some time. But once we got Rocket and Fnatic going, it actually also started delivering.
Well, maybe let's quickly touch on when we look at the playoff picture, how strong each group might be, because the playoffs are just around the corner with the best teams in Europe fighting for a spot in the finals. And our first quarterfinal is Misfits versus Splice, starting Saturday at 5 p.m. Central European summertime. And you guys have said that, well, actually, it might be that Group B is clearly in over all three teams stronger than Group A.
I think based off of the recent performances of Misfits, the fact that they've been on the downswing, whereas Splice have been on the upswing, thinking back to their very close series against G2, close series against UOL, H2K, not quite as convincing, but still, the fact that Splice seem to be having a meta that favors them very well, and seem to have a really good understanding of what to do with a lead and how to get themselves a lead, I think that, for me, they're actually the favorites going up against Misfits.
I think it's going to be extremely close, and looking at the two quarterfinals in the Fnatic series, that doesn't mean H2K will win. That's not how they work in playoffs. But I think the Misfits Splice one is where I can see like this best of 5, like full on 5 games, really back and forth. Comes down to just the day, like the form on the day, who's able to kind of change up the pick and ban phase during games. And that's why I think that quarterfinal is going to be super, super fun to watch, because it's going to be 2 dead even teams.
Yeah, the playoffs are going to be hype, and we are going to take a closer look at the playoff matchups, as well as the promotion tournament and more. So if you're watching us in client, load up youtube.com/LOL Esports for the full-length edition of the post-game lobby. All right, and we're going to continue talking about this and the playoffs with the final playoff team locked in. We're going to take a closer look at the specific matchups. Let's talk a bit more in length about first Splice versus Misfits, and then specifically I want to talk about Misfits, because we've said that they've lost a series, of course, on the last day versus Fnatic, and the last couple of weeks we've said they are falling off a bit. So the question is, do you see them recovering in time for the playoffs, and is it enough to get that top 4 finish that they have said that they want?
I think that it's very capable. Misfits as a team are very capable of being able to take that series win. I think that they have demonstrated that they have a very defined playbook, that they know how to be able to win games depending on how well they get early advantages. But I think that what we've seen today and in the last few weeks is that a lot of the success of the team seems to revolve very heavily around the success of Kakao. And he, as a jungler, seems to rely on being able to make plays, and he will try them regardless on the champion that he's on, and that can either be to the benefit or the detriment of his team.
We heard early in the split, Kakao may be MVP of the split candidate, early candidate. Would you still say that now?
I think that for his team, he has been extremely valuable. But I think that when you think of him in terms of the whole league and his recent performance, the fact that other teams have been figuring out him as a point to target, I think that it's not as confident as an answer right now.
I'm going to say no. I was on the hype train, you know, coming into week 6 around that time of being Kakao, you know, most valuable member, always able to get, you know, really good early games off. But I think right now, the way he works with the rest of the team, it doesn't seem to be the same anymore. And I think something that has been talked about from the Misfits coaching staff, where figuring out the new jungle paths, you know, kind of building on top of what you had from the start of the split, is where Kakao maybe slowed down a little bit. The teams who went to IEM benefited so much from especially the jungle, and Misfits didn't have that luxury. They are now picking it up, and I think another week is going to help them a lot. But I think people have maybe noticed a few trends in also champion picks where they could target Kakao. We saw him value the Elise early. We see some early success on it, that's fine, but other picks you didn't see the same, and that is an issue. But Misfits just, it's strange, because I think just their mid game, especially when they're behind, like you have the stat, I know, because we talked about it before.
They have now lost, or won 2 and lost 10 games where they've been behind at 20 minutes.
Right, so when they fall behind, so often you watch the game and you're just like, well, where's the opening? You know, where are they going to do anything? It's like, actually, they can't really do anything here. They're not setting up to do anything here. Oh, now this guy got caught, he's dead. Oh, now they lost the tower again. Now the enemy team's setting up Baron, and they become so passive. And I hear from so many players saying, well, they didn't do anything. We just kind of took the entire map and then that was it. When they get early leads against Misfits, and that's a huge issue. Yeah,
that's definitely something that they're going to have to work on together with their coach Hussein as well. But in the context of this matchup versus Splice, you talked a lot about Kakao. So where do you see big discrepancies in the singular matchups? And does it matter, or is the fact that they are that passive in the mid game something where Splice could take big advantages of?
I actually think when I think of Splice, I'm largely thinking of the bottom lane, especially in the recent weeks. I know we had a bit of a fun game earlier in the day, but it's also a highlight of the synergy that you have between Kobbe and Mickey. They've been playing together for a while now, and when you give a playmaking champion to an individual like Mickey, he is really good during the laning phase in particular. Like, sure, he might make a few questionable decisions come the mid and late game, but during the early laning phase, that bottom lane is extremely powerful for Splyce, and I think that that is actually a big window that they can look to take advantage of.
Yeah, I think the lanes are really even, like across the entire board here. I think Alpha and Wonder also up in the top lane, like are two of the big superstars you can look at on these two teams.
Mid lane though, talk to me about Power Vivo versus Sencux.
Well, that's the thing. It's so rare that either of these two mid laners are the ones getting that one early kill and then takes it and use it to get 5-6 other kills. I think they've, especially Power Vivo has been insanely consistent. Where I think Sencux maybe has gambled a little bit more on some of the plays he's making, where there is definitely openings for Power Vivo. But I don't think in the laning phase it's going to matter. I think that's going to be really even. And that's the thing. I actually think across the entire thing, the most explosive one is the jungle matchup, where Trashy will try and match the early game of Kakao, and if he succeeds, he might be more impactful.
That sounds like a super close matchup. So if we talk now about the other one, the other quarterfinal, H2K going up against Fnatic, you're more inclined to say, well, H2K should have an easier time versus Fnatic, obviously. But what trends that we've seen the last couple of weeks are we taking into account here? Because if we say Fnatic has a resurgence, we also have to be fair and say that H2K has not shown us top-tier League of Legends for the entirety of the last 3 weeks. Is that fair?
I think that's a fair statement to make. I think that H2K, especially in, like, I think back to their series versus Origin, where they received some criticism towards when you're going against a team like that, you expect to have much cleaner play. Very similar to how they played against Splyce today, and obviously Splyce made it a little bit easier for them. But the premise is there, right? You expect clean control during the early game. Jankos is a jungler that's renowned for building up leads during the early game, and then given that H2K is such a methodical team, the logic is that they'll just use that lead to be able to just swiftly take tower after tower, objective after objective, and just close out the game. And recently, come the mid-game, they tend to take some of these questionable fights. Like, there was a big criticism around IEM, and when you look at their recent performances, some of these issues are still sticking around.
I think what Caps talked about, you know, punishing mistakes more.
Maybe Fevivin?
Maybe, yeah, maybe Fevivin, let's call him that now. But no, about like how Fnatic have changed the style. It's more about not forcing so much on their own, but more punishing what the other team is doing. And then like fight. I think that style makes sense, but I don't see H2K make that many mistakes before we get late on in the game. And that's where I can be a little bit concerned if I'm Fnatic. Because if you start falling behind in these games here, which we know a jungler like Jankos can do, and the lanes are very strong on the side of H2K, you might not get that many openings. And I also think having a full week to VOD review and prepare pick and ban phase against this Fnatic lineup, who's now shown this very specific style they're using, would benefit H2K more than it would benefit Fnatic.
Oh, and let's not forget that Finlay said it himself in the post-game interview. Yeah, I am the coach, but obviously I don't have the wealth of experience that our coaches do, and he's going up against the most experienced coach in the EU LCS.
Yeah, the most experienced, who's now had an assistant coach in Stardust with him all split long. They have Chris there, the manager, for the entire split as well. Like, it is not often H2K have had the same staff for the entire split they have now, so they should benefit more from an extra week. I think Fnatic, if they could play the game right now, they would take it and just say, yeah, you know what, no prep time, let's just play. And then I think Fnatic would have a better chance.
Yeah, we'll see. The final thing I do want to say about that, just for Fnatic, we also saw it in a post-game interview, obviously the fans rallied then behind them, and the fans have had to endure a bit this split, and I just want to see the hunger. If Fnatic shows up, and even if it is with the same strategy, they absolutely have to play to win, and I think they have to. We always say, oh, it's built on the pillars of Reckless and Soaz and the old schoolers, but I feel that the energy of a Broxa and a Caps is what has made me enticed by Fnatic today, and the fact that they seem so happy and hungry that they have made it, and that's kind of the positive energy that you want to see translate onto the Rift.
Well, naturally, I think that one of the things that me as a viewer has always wanted to see from Fnatic is them having fun and enjoying playing as a team and together, and that's something that we've been seeing more from teams like Vitality now that they have nothing to lose, and I feel like today we saw a glimmer of it towards the end of the series once they know that they've been able to lock in playoffs, and coming into the quarterfinals, I think that it is a really big thing for Fnatic to change that mindset of just being like, look, we've made it to the playoffs on our first split. Yes, we've had a really rough time, but H2K is an opponent that we can challenge, and all we need to do is come together as a team and figure out how to beat them.
We've also seen Broxa have like really good early games, especially on Lee Sin, mainly on Lee Sin. If he's able to do that again in a playoff series, then that's a big thing for them. Sadly for him, when that champion gets removed, we have seen a much different performance. And in a best of 5, it's hard to kind of stick to 1 or 2 picks only. So that might, again, be a little bit of an issue. But I think, actually, yeah, people like him, people like Caps, they can come in the first series and do extremely well. That is huge for Fnatic. And I think the same for Misfits. Like, you talk about the positivity. I think what we liked so much about Misfits was how these guys came together with Kakao, even Ignor and so on. Like, these guys were kind of giving some energy to the rest of the team. And it allowed them in the start to really progress so fast. And I think it's still great. And I think we're going to see something like that again from Misfits. Because I think now you get a reset. Regular season is done. Prep just for this one team. You only care about one team. And I think that's where Misfits might bounce back and become a strong team again.
Speaking about resets, talk to me about the possible reseeding in the playoff system, that is.
Yes, so the semi-finals are reseeded in one of 2 ways, so that teams from Group A play Group B. So basically, in the event that I've muddled my own words up now, right? Allow me to recollect myself. Yes. So basically, you want Group B to fight up against Group A in the semi-finals. That's your expectations. However, there is the possibility that all of Group A from the quarterfinals or all of Group B could go up into the semi-finals. So to alleviate that issue, what you don't want to happen is you don't want the possible 2 best teams in the league going up against each other. So if we just say, for example, G2 and Misfits went up against one another, there's the possibility that you have the 2 best teams. So Misfits would end up facing the Unicorns of Love. So you'd end up having B1 versus A2 and A1 versus A3, and vice versa if Group B were the ones to make it through. So that's how the reseeding works out, and it's just to make sure that the strongest seeds have the best seeding going into the semi-finals. Hopefully that was explained well.
I think it was. I think it made a lot of sense. Like, again, just you can use the teams as the good example. You know, if Misfits beats Splice, and then Fnatic beats H2K, then Fnatic will face G2 because Fnatic is the lowest seed then going into the semi-final, and Misfits will then take on Unicorns of Love.
If anything, the playoffs are going to be super exciting. Who wins them? Betty, fire round.
Who's going to win the whole playoffs?
Who wins the playoffs?
G2.
G2's the easy one.
Yeah, easy one.
I'm going Unicorns of Love.
Yeah.
They're gonna do it.
It's their best shot.
It is their best shot. Maybe the very first split, but even then I actually thought they were a little bit of an underdog compared to Fnatic, but Fnatic weren't like really defined yet. But I think Unicorns of Love are coming in as at least the second strongest team right now from what we've seen in Group A, from what we've seen from the other Group B teams. And this is their chance to go at least to the final and then challenge someone like G2.
And also in the Sheepy's hometown, Hamburg, I mean, do you need any more kind of spurring on if they end up in Hamburg?
I mean, I guess he's hyped in pick and ban face.
You also need
into
a
the
flock
players.
of unicorns. That's what you need. Wouldn't it be great to have half the stadium just in unicorn outfits?
That would probably happen if they make it to the final.
That is the future.
If they make it to the final. But at the other end of the standings, there's a whole other prize on the line in the coming week. There is the promotion tournament, and Giants, they have until Monday to choose which challenger team they will end up facing, and OG as well. So we'll see if we have Giants going up against Misfits Academy or Fnatic Academy, and same for OG.
Yeah, and this is the same format if you watch the North American promotion tournament, where first you have these opening rounds. The 2 winners will then face each other, and the winner of that one is in the LCS. While the 2 losers of the original game will then face the loser of that winner's match for the last spot. So it is double elimination. You are not knocked out by just losing 1 BO5, which is very important for everyone. And it's going to be a tough one. I feel like it's going to be tough for all 4 teams because I don't see a massive difference.
Exactly. It's pretty even this time around, in my opinion, the promotion tournament.
I think it's going to be an exciting one. Giants are the team that get the choice, and they will end up choosing tomorrow, I believe, between Misfits Academy and Fnatic Academy. I would probably choose Misfits Academy based on their performance. I think that they prepared extremely well for Schalke during the Challenger Series, but I also think Schalke succumbed to the pressure. I think that they put a lot of weight on their own shoulders to perform. Misfits Academy took advantage of that, and they took a lot of people by surprise.
If they do take Misfits Academy, then we get that OG versus Fnatic Academy matchup, and of course, Amazing has a thing or two there in the history in OG. Of course, it's double elimination.
I think Fnatic Academy would destroy Origin, personally. We talked about it at the very start of the split, and I think it's worth rehashing. Origin came in as a challenger team. Like, it was a roster full of it was a roster full of challenger players that are now debuting on the LCS stage. They have not won a series throughout the regular split, and in the event that they were to go up against Fnatic Academy, there's the likes of Kikis, there's the likes of Amazing. This is a lineup that has a lot of valuable experience, and they seem to have a pretty good understanding of the meta right now. So I think that Origin would really struggle against a roster like Fnatic?
Now, I've been involved with promotion tournaments ever since I was a player, and it's been many, many years now, and every single time where you feel like one team looks really weak coming into it, once they sit down on stage, you can just throw it all up in the air, because all of a sudden then the nerves kicks in, or ooh, that was a missed opportunity in some sort of pick and ban phase, maybe the scouting was a little bit off, and then that team that's supposed to be really bad actually ends up playing really well. And it's happened so many times, but I do agree Origin will look like one of the weaker teams, but I don't think the two challenger guys have looked that much stronger if we look at the games they've played.
And to that, it was Crepo mentioning it the other day, how, you know, a team like Origin, they've done it all. They've been there for a while now. They've played the whole split on the stage, and another team, this is all they've been working towards, this promotion tournament to get into the LCS. So when that first game comes and you lose that first game, that's something you haven't dealt with until then in the promotion tournament. You have to rebound immediately. So it's like we see in the NA promotion tournament as well. It always turns into these long games and to these split-second barons and this and whatnot, a bit of a fiesta here and there, but just you see how important it is and how mentally draining a promotion tournament is.
Just imagine all the casters started fighting. Loser would lose his job. You know, it would be also a really weird fight.
All right, you want to go?
Vetty, you go first. You go first.
All right, just kidding. All split long, we have been naming our players of the series. So let's see who ended up on top in that one. Wonder, is there? And nobody can catch him. Obviously not, because there are no more games in the regular season. But Fisho, can you explain to me how this funnels into the MVP and so of the split?
Yeah, the votes we have obviously are basically every player of the series you have, you can time with 3. So you get 3 points for one player of the series vote here, and you can see one has 6 of them, so that's obviously quite a few points for him, towards the actual MVP standing. It's not towards, you know, all pro team or rookie, it's just the MVP. Now, everyone who's voting, we got like players, coaches, casters, third-party media voting, and so on. Also picking the players all the way down, and if you vote #1 for someone on MVP, he gets 3 points as well. So it helps a little bit. It's not the defining factor. It's mainly for honor, you know, and for fun we have this.
Wonder has this at least.
And if people wanted more information on this MVP, where could they find that?
Well, you can go to eu.lolesports.com, and there's an article detailing the rules. Spoiler, they're very much the same as last split, where, again, we have the votes all the way down. Only new thing we added, because there's a lot of drama about this, you cannot vote for your own players, your own team, so we don't get the same situation where someone is just voting for the 5 players and then vote for nothing else.
And I can't vote for Deficio.
Who's my MVP? I haven't actually locked it in just yet, but I think I'm going Perks.
You going Perks? Well, interesting.
He too is actually my MVP as well.
Same. Spoiler alert. That's the
now I'm going Sven, because I don't want your vote.
No, well, I was going to say my MVP is all of you and all the production crew for, you know, for
if you can't put that on the ballot,
season.
that will be
I tried to write Deficio in. I was like, let Deficio be the MVP, please.
No, but that was it for the regular season, at least in spring. But be sure to tune in for the playoff quarterfinals starting on Saturday with Misfits versus Splice. Our broadcast for that game will begin at 5 p.m. Central European Summertime. We are into territory of best of 5s, very interestingly. And then on Sunday, we'll have H2K versus Fnatic. But to start the week, we will have the promotion tournament with our first best of 5 series coming up on Thursday at 5 p.m. Central European Summertime. So right before that, so for us, no break. It just goes straight from the end of the regular season into the promotion tournament and the playoffs, which is spicy for the teams.
League of Legends, lots of it. And we will also be joined by Medic for the promotion tournament as well.
Ah, cool. Ooh. Cool. Anyone else?
Anyone else?
Me. Hello.
Cool.
I was more on the Medic. I'm excited. I'm actually I love watching promotion tournament. It's the funniest stuff ever, because you just have you have mistakes, but you also have cool plays. It's people's jobs on the lines.
But there's a Carly too. We saw it twice from Kikis.
He's gonna play it.
He's gonna play it.
Yeah.
I know you want me to quit, but I'm just going to see how far, you know, you guys just go. I was
going to throw this pen at you.
All right, okay, let's stop there then. With playoffs on the horizon, it is time for the sun to set here on the post-game lobby and on the 2017 spring regular season. Thank you guys so much for watching. The landscape of the EU LCS is changing, and we hope you'll join us next week to watch it happen. Good night, mates.
Hug me, the fish.
Jankos turns it back around.
Oh, it looks so good, though.
Wait, the laser! Oh, that one hurt. In comes Wonder, right around the backside, looking for nuclear. Doesn't have the damage, but a double kill for Senkooks. Trashy Senkooks trying to scramble out of here, but Trashy's gone down.
I blame Coach for this one.
Next time we get him.
Nuclear on a rampage kill now, and that's a double for Febivin as he's able to knock a couple down. Dude, come on. Come on, man. Give me a hug for that. I love that. That is coach camaraderie right there. Sencooks, he's dying quite a lot as well. Tried to get the true shot off, but Febivin popped him.
He hit him.
Well, Cavalry's arrived.
Oh, he's not getting hurt.
Nowhere to go, unfortunately. Shields aren't going to save you this time. Shut down by Trashy. But this game was not splicey enough. H2K are going to take the series, mopping the floor, play it safe, play it standard, and just win the game.
Mom, we got the camera.
Auto attacks goes out.
Already used the parry chain. CC comes in. Hextech ultimatum. Don't even need to die. Alfari just taking his time waiting. In comes the cannon. Buying a bit of time. Alfari getting locked down. Trying to leap back in on Soaz. Flash to extend. Gets the kill. Reckless wants one back. He's going to get it. Out comes the Realm War. Brock's going to try to leap to safety, but Hansama's just right there. That's the Rampage, that's the Baron. Misfits been available. Out comes the Realm Warp. The Nexus is exposed. Misfits, they sneak right back. They're gonna take game one, and Fnatic looking lost. Mari has been locked up. He's trying to dive out. I don't know if he's gonna be able to make it. Brock's taking his time on the Sonic Wave.
He has to wait for the flash.
Gets it. First blood. Resonating strike, the auto attack, the Alfari pulling back. The team is simply too far ahead. Power Fuel doesn't have any mana. He's got the blue buff, but it is not enough. Down goes Cacao. Caps on a killing spree.
Baron. They're already low. I will kill them if they come.
Fnatic bring down the guillotine right here to Misfits. 51,000 goals in the pockets at 25 minutes. What a statement game from Fnatic.
25 minutes, Crepo. Bit of time, leaps up, leaps down, takes him out. Will he drop in return? Yes, the 1-for-1 for Fnatic.
He drops, he's down, it's all Alfari!
1v3 Alfari, you are not enough to stop Fnatic. They're pushing in, they're looking for more. Gonna retreat back to the base. Fnatic tower in their sights. Nexus in their sights. Playoffs for the 9th time in a row. Fnatic make their home at the top of the EU LCS.